good afternoon again, and this is Merle Dimbath, your Conch Economist, and I'm in Key West, and it's a Friday afternoon. It's a beautiful spring day in Key West, and I have the good privilege of talking with my longtime friend, and he goes by the name of Bounce, and that's all we're going to be able to tell you. He doesn't want to give you his total name. That's his stage name, and he has been a professional in what is called circus arts. And Bounce, where are you from? Everybody in
Origi-
Key West is from somewhere else.
Originally from Massachusetts, I grew up 5 miles from where the New England Patriots play, a small town called Sharon. It's a great town.
Okay.
I grew up with 13 first cousins living in the town. Uh, we had a fun childhood, although I hated the cold weather.
Okay. Oh, apparently you're not alone. There's a lot of other people in
I
that situation.
hated the I hated the winter. I didn't ski.
Okay.
I did a lot of sledding, but I just did not like the cold weather.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I was in college uh, that I actually went to Florida for the first time.
Okay.
I had met a guy when I was living in Boston. I met a guy who had raved about the Keys, and I said, okay, during the winter break, I was gonna go to the Keys,
All right.
and I ended up getting a ride to Miami. My sister's father-in-law was living in Miami. I stayed there for a couple days, and then I hitchhiked down the Keys. I stayed at the Key West. I finally ended up going to Key West, ended up at Boyd's Campground. The next day I walked around Key West and I said, this place feels like home.
Good for you. All right. Where was college? What was?
I went to UMass,
Okay. All right. Good.
and it
And
was at UMass that in 1974, right after I went to Key West and I went back to school for
okay.
my last semester, I was getting a degree to teach phys ed.
Okay.
And the last semester, I started seeing some people juggle. And I said, "Wow, that looks like a great physical education exercise."
Okay.
So I started juggling with the people there, and before I know it, this one person said they had a unicycle, and they offered it to me. They didn't teach me how to ride it; they just gave it to me, and I figured out how to ride it. Next thing I knew it, I was riding around campus on a unicycle and juggling. And I started not thinking about teaching phys ed, but thinking, I wonder where this clown thing could go.
Okay. And where did it go?
Well, I ended up with one of those guys that was at UMass. He was a graduate student in nutrition, and we ended up having a partnership for 10 years.
Okay. So your first business, so to speak, was a partnership.
It was a partnership with this guy
All
who
right.
went by the name of Cyrus P. Koski III.
And how did you make money as a partnership?
Well, we did some street performing, but we also uh, searched for contracts, fairs,
Okay.
festivals.
All right.
Back then, you could get work at malls, camps,
Okay.
schools.
Now, at a camp, you would be hired as what, an instructor?
No, we to do a
To
performance
do
and
performances?
also to do teaching.
Okay. All right. A
Also
little both.
teaching.
All right. Now, at a mall, would the mall pay you,
The,
or
the mall would pay.
the mall pay you?
It was contracted work.
Okay.
It was contracted work
All right. Okay. And that partnership lasted for 10
for
years?
10 years,
Okay.
and it was an amazing partnership
All
because I
right.
ended up getting into the college circuit.
And
And,
now what does that mean?
well,
Tell me.
the college is higher entertainment,
Okay.
and I think it was the folk singers that really opened up the colleges to maybe novelty rather than just big bands. But so maybe we would get hired to do a noontime show when everyone's hanging around the student union, or maybe it was a fall festival or a spring festival. It could be parents' weekend. It could be siblings' weekend that they would hire us. My partner Cyrus and I, after we did a first showcase, we were doing 100 college shows a year,
Wow. That's
and
impressive. Now,
and it's a tough venue. Not a tough venue. The venue's fun, but it's all one night stands. So
yeah,
we're doing a
you're a
lot of
lot of
traveling,
traveling.
a lot of traveling.
Now, how did you learn your routines, your acts?
It's all self-taught.
Self-taught.
It was all self-taught. We had back then. I mean, we were on the edge of a whole circus arts renaissance.
Okay.
And it happened in Ann Arbor, it happened in California, it happened in uh, Baltimore, it happened in Philadelphia, New York, and we would end up going in the summertime. There was the International Juggling Association. Yeah, 75 was our first one. It was in Youngstown, Ohio, and it just blew our mind. It was the first time we really saw a lot more professional jugglers, because they would be out there and there would be showcases and there'd be instructions. It was mind-boggling. 2 years later, we went to the one that was at the University of Delaware at Newark, and that's where I actually met my wife, although she was with someone else at the time. But down the road, 4 years later, we got together.
Great. And that's Karen, and
Yeah,
she's an accomplished artist in her own right.
that's right. She's
Yes.
her first love really was theater. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, she was an actress all through elementary school, middle school, high school, and she went to Boston University for theater, and then she went over to England for a year and did theater over there. And when she came back, her teachers at BU said, "You really don't need us anymore. Just go get a job."
Okay.
It was so much different because my partner and I, we were totally self-taught. That we met Penn Jillette and Michael Motion, and you might know the name Penn Jillette because he's part of Penn and Teller. They have that big magic show. But before he was with Teller, he was with Michael Motion, and they were fantastic jugglers. And they were younger than us, but they in high school they discovered juggling and they became fabulous jugglers. And indirectly, they really taught my partner and I a lot about passing.
All right, I want to follow up on a term that you used a few moments ago that I don't think is widely used, and that term circus arts. Obviously, we're in a part of the entertainment industry here. Tell me what does that term encompass?
Well, a lot of the circus arts is object manipulation, which you
Yeah, let's
know
see if I can get this in here. All right, look at him go. All right,
it's juggling. I
all right.
mean, juggling is the main thing, because and juggling, I think, is the most incredible physical education activity you could possibly learn,
Why do you say that?
because every sport involves hand-eye coordination. It involves tracking the ball, watching the ball. Whether you're playing basketball, you're catching the ball and you're shooting, so you're tracking. Baseball, if you can't track that ball coming in, you're never going to hit it. And if you're going to throw, you got to throw the ball to a position, or if you're going to catch the ball, you got to watch that ball. Even soccer, which you're watching the ball. So when you develop the tracking, the eyes watching that ball, you will be an absolute better athlete.
Okay,
No,
okay,
other parts of the circus arts involve balance. There could be acrobatics.
okay.
My partner Cyrus and I were acrobat. I was a ringman at UMass. I actually competed a couple of years on the rings, and that sort of made it so that I could almost do handstands anywhere. And my partner was a strong guy, and together we developed hand balancing. So he would actually put his hands straight up in the air, and eventually I ended up doing handstands on top of his
Oh
hands.
wow,
But
that's impressive.
we did a whole lot of other routines with that, and that also there just wasn't a school for us to go to, so we had to search, in libraries, and we were really fortunate. One year we went out to California in the wintertime. We were hoping to seek our fortune in California, but almost as soon as we got there, it started raining, so we couldn't even street perform while we were out there. While we were out there, we did actually perform on the Gong Show.
Now, are you still in the partnership, or do we have
Oh
some
no,
other?
that
All
was
right,
the very
in the
beginning
beginning.
of
All
the
right.
part.
So, what kind of business arrangement do we have now?
The business arrangement is he
So,
drove.
are you sole proprietorship now,
It was a
or
sole proprietorship.
okay? All right,
Yeah, we never really went into the corporate, made
okay,
it
all
a
right,
corporation. I mean, we didn't have a pot to piss in.
okay.
I mean, we were two guys on the road. We each had you know, a Dodge van.
Okay.
And in 1974 is when I really started doing all my circus stuff. And I auditioned for Ringling Brothers to go to the clown school. And I wasn't accepted. It really was disappointing for me. But I ended up, you know, making that partnership with Cyrus and brought him down to Key West. We did Mallory Square, performing at Mallory Square, and then we went to Mardi Gras. So we performed at I don't know 4 or 5 Mardi Gras, and we also went up to Montreal for the Olympics. And the day before the Olympics started, ABC Wide World of Sports was they were going to do a special, what's happening on the streets, and it just so happened that my partner and I were right below the cameras, and for maybe 5 or 6 times we were featured on this show that 40 million people. So this was the Montreal Summer Olympics. 40 million people saw that show, and one of the people, well, two important people. Well, my parents saw the show. That was great, but Bill Ballantyne, who was the dean of clown school, saw that. He saw that, and he made inquiries as who those people were, and he found out that I had applied for clown school, and he ended up calling, I guess, my dad's number because that's the only number I had at the time, and he asked me to call him, and he ended up offering my partner and I the job of being juggling, unicycling, and hand balancing instructors at the 1976 Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey's Clown College.
Impressive.
A second person who saw that show was a guy named Ron Rezague. He always went by the name Flip. And he had just graduated from the University of Alabama on a diving scholarship. This guy could do flips anywhere. He was a cheerleader for Alabama on the football team, and his claim to fame is the last time out of the game, he would run out to the field, shimmy up the goalpost, and do a back flip off the goalpost. Well, he was a student at Clown College, and then we ended up showing up to be his instructors at the Clown College. We got very friendly with him, and a year later, we were able to offer him a job, and he was with us for 4 amazing years.
Very good. This is one of the most expensive towns in the state of Florida. How are you able to buy property here in Key West?
Well, I bought property here in 1979.
Okay. That was a good time.
Oh, that was a good time. You could buy property for less than $50,000. There was a lot of properties available for then. I mean, I got down to Key West December 73. I came back to perform for the first time February 75. And then 76, 77, 78, I was pretty much living in my van, different places. I pitched a tent in someone's backyard for a couple of years. And then I said to myself, if I come back, I'm going to buy a house. And, you know, the housing was not that expensive back then. And I had saved up some money. And
so you bought your first house in Key West. That was your first real estate purchase.
And this is the property.
This is the property, okay.
Although the funny story is when my mom came down and saw the house for the first time, she says, you know, this house bounce needs one thing. I said, what's that, Mom? She said, a match.
Oh, unkind.
She was right. She was right. The house that I bought had so many termites, I think the termites were holding hands to keep it together. I spent 8 years trying to fix it, replacing floors. There was so much that I had to repair that after 8 years, my wife and I, with the help of friends, tore the house down, and then we spent 3 winters
building a new one.
Building this house.
Building a new one. All right.
And we built it ourselves with the help of friends.
Yes. Okay. And so you are now a proud property owner here in Key West.
I'm the maintenance man.
And you're the maintenance man. Yes, I understand that completely.
Yeah.
So, are we retired now from circus arts?
Yes.
We are retired from circus arts.
Retired, being on the road for 40 years because I was with my partner for 10, and the last 2, my wife joined the show, and then we went off, you know, for another 30 years after that. And, you know, some of that, I mean, most of it was performing, but when we stopped performing, then we were doing a lot more teaching in the schools
Mm-hmm.
and up in a day camp on Long Island, which was an 8-week commitment, and that was great. Locomotion Circus. That was the show that my partner Cyrus and I.
Locomotion
It
Circus.
was called Loco-Motion Circus, and it was a great name.
Okay.
And it really ticks me off because someone else after we retired took that name.
Oh, you didn't get it copyrighted?
No,
Oh, you should have gotten
back then we didn't.
You should have gotten it copyrighted.
But they don't have a hyphen; they just do locomotion.
Okay.
But anyways, we were hired 3 times to go to Saudi Arabia
Well, that was interesting.
to perform for Aramco Oil Company, and yes, it was interesting. It
Yeah.
wasn't my first time in a Arab country because I had been to Turkey before, but that was the first time being in a country where, yes, the women are covered up, and although in in Saudi Arabia, there's 4 compounds that Aramco Oil Company has, and one of them might have 10,000 Americans. So they have schools, they have theaters. I mean, they have recreation there. But and to keep the people happy there, they bring in a lot of entertainment. And we were fortunate to go there 3 times. Money was real nice, and and my wife Karen also went the last time. And then when we split up, when Locomotion finally split up, and my wife and I went off on our own, we were hired to go to Japan for a month.
Wow.
And that was lovely.
That's impressive.
It was a place called Holland Village in Japan. It was Harundamura, and it was they built a replica Holland Village because Holland and Japan had a unique relationship that was based on trade and not religion. Those countries that had religion, Japan didn't want anything to do with those countries.
Interesting.
But trade,
they're interested in.
and so they had this beautiful place, and they would bring in all these street entertainers. They brought in some from Europe. They brought in.
Well, let's take a moment now for you to show us some of the equipment and things that you use here in your work.
Well, this
Yeah,
looks
make sure it gets in the camera there.
looks like a soccer ball,
You're right.
but it's actually a spinning ball.
All right. Hey, all right. Look at that. Look at that. Okay.
And when I did my act, this spinning ball was magic for me because I would do tricks. I'd go around my arm. I'd go different figures, but then I'd go out onto the audience, and I'd find a couple kids, and I'd have them put their hand up, put their finger up, and I'd spin a ball on their finger, and then I'd go to another kid, and then I'd go over to this older woman. I'd have her put one finger up, and then I'd spin the ball on the finger. I asked her to put the other finger up, and when she put her other hand up, I'd steal her pocketbook. I'd steal her pocketbook, and then also,
So that's how you balance the budget. Okay,
Yeah,
right. Okay.
and then I always loved when there was a woman who was holding a baby. I'd bring the baby up. I'd have him turn around, and I'd take the baby's little finger, and I'd spin the ball on the baby's finger. And the end of the act, I'd bring a kid up. I'd have him sit in a chair. I'd take his shoe off. I'd balance the shoe on my nose. I'd take his sock off, and then with the ball, the sock, and the shoe, I'd juggle until I threw the sock up, and it'd land on my nose, and then I'd spin the ball on the kid's toe. And
You must have been a favorite.
and then when the kid was leaving, I'd give him a bar of soap, and I told him to go home and wash his feet.
Fantastic. Well, Bounce, I want to thank you for this opportunity to share your very interesting life and experience with our audience. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe.